Today's episode is sponsored by Brilliant. Today we'll talk about an upcoming 9 Raptor engine static fire for SpaceX's Super Heavy booster. We'll also take a detailed look at Starship hold-down clamps, suborbital pad problems, and Boeing Starliner's second try to reach the ISS.
What about it? Go for launch.
We're go for launch. Let's light this candle.
Ignition sequence start.
My name is Felix and I am your host for today's episode of What About It. And as always, there's been a lot going on in the space industry lately, so let's dive right in. Starship updates. SpaceX is in the aftermath of a crucial 3 Raptor engine static fire performed with Super Heavy Booster 3 on Monday, July 19th. It marked the first ever engine test on a Super Heavy booster test candidate. In RGB aerial photography's latest pictures from July 20th, one day after the event, we can see the impact those 3 Raptor engines had on the pad. No noticeable chipping of martite coating can be seen. It seems SpaceX has gotten better at protecting the pad's concrete surface. The problems we've seen on earlier tests with Starship serial number 8 in November of last year seem to have been overcome. This is very important, as back then this problem led to the Starship being damaged by the heat coating rupturing under the blast of the Raptor engines and being thrown up again towards the test candidate. This time everything seems to be normal. Besides some typical burn marks, the pad's concrete surface seems to be fine, ready for more testing. And Musk has already given us an outlook on what we can possibly expect here shortly. SpaceX is stepping up the game. Right after the static fire had occurred, Musk tweeted that it was successful. Full test duration firing of 3 Raptors on Super Heavy booster. First of all, it's great to hear from an official side that everything seems to have gone as expected. We can put a check mark on the first Super Heavy static fire. As said though, SpaceX might be stepping up the game now to do something we've never seen before. Depending on the progress with Booster 4, we might try a 9-engine firing on Booster 3. Yes please, we've all been waiting for this for a while now. According to Musk, the plan right now is to have 33 Raptor engines on the final booster design with 230 tons of thrust each engine. This would result in an unbelievable 7,600 tons of thrust only for the booster. Let's watch that first static fire again just to get a feel for the power of 3 Raptor engines. So that's 3 engines, and most likely around 600 tons of thrust. Just one engine produces enough thrust to push 5 fully loaded 18-wheeler trucks with trailers upwards. 3 engines would be 15 semi-trucks with trailers, and 9 of them would be 45. We're talking 1,800 to 2,000 tons of thrust. To give you another comparison, a Falcon 9 Merlin 1D engine produces around 95 tons of thrust. So a single Falcon 9 rocket with its 9 Merlin engines generates approximately 855 tons of thrust at liftoff. 3 Raptor engines come close to this already. 9 of them would already be more than double the thrust of a Falcon 9. And just for giggles, a complete 33 Raptor engine Super Heavy would be the equivalent of 80 Merlin engines firing simultaneously, or almost 9 Falcon 9 rockets strapped together. So it's safe to say that we're in for a true blast if SpaceX actually does that 9-engine static fire. It'll be pure almighty glory seeing a Super Heavy launch later down the line. As seen here in the latest NASA spaceflight footage, inspection work on Super Heavy Booster 3 is almost finished now. But Musk said that the 9-engine static fire depends on progress being made on Booster 4. So let's take a look at what's still missing for that next Super Heavy to be ready for first testing. On the evening of July 20, SpaceX made some considerable progress on Booster 4 stacking. Currently it's around 12 segments tall and it's sitting inside the high bay at SpaceX's Starbase. That's roughly a third of the intended height. I've done some digging through pictures and have come to the following conclusion as to which parts currently might be ready for Booster 4 stacking to drive the process forward. I've been able to identify a total of 8 segments that presently seem to be prepared for the next Starship Super Heavy. Take this with a grain of salt, as it's insanely difficult to be correct here. Sometimes there are pictures of labels available, but not for all the segments sitting at the plaza in the middle of the production tents, the mid-bay and the high bay. But if this number is correct, the final stacking work should be done relatively quickly, which would be the same approach as with Booster 3. For a long time we didn't see much progress besides lots of elements sitting around. Then SpaceX finished the stacking in quick succession. So the recent stacking might be an excellent sign, but what's also missing are more engines on site. And those are coming in on an almost daily basis right now. Another delivery was spotted by Mary from NASA spaceflight on July 21st. It's RB2, or as SpaceX dubbed it, R2B2. It's another one of the new Raptor boost engines supposed to work as the non-gimbal Raptors on a Super Heavy booster. This, for example, is a recent render made by my friend Tony Baylor. He's been thinking about arranging 33 Raptor engines into a 9-meter diameter and still have the space to gimbal those engines that need to have thrust vector control for the booster to steer. According to his idea, we'd end up with an outer ring of 20 Raptor boost engines and 30 gimbal Raptors. It's tough to count the Raptors already at Starbase, but we're at least at 4 Raptor boost engines by now. Besides the stacking of Super Heavy booster 4 inside the high bay, this is likely the most limiting factor. Even for the first orbital launch, SpaceX will need a total of 29 Raptor boost and Raptor gimbal engines. After all, it might be likely that we'll actually see that 9 Raptor engine static fire soon. SpaceX is also still working full steam ahead on the white mystery structure. It holds more question marks than answers right now, but there's been a critical feature added recently. These have recently been delivered to Starbase, and they've already been installed like so. Looking back at Mauricio's aerial view, the pistons are being installed below the boxes that are visible on top, so they can reach up when extended. A total of 20 anchor points are on the structure, and those mineral oil hydraulic pistons pack a punch. They're custom made for SpaceX, so it's hard to tell how much exactly, but it's safe to say that it's a lot. I've been talking to Ove from SpaceX 3D creation Eccentric about all this. Mary from NASA spaceflight was able to take this picture of some parts lying around near the mystery structure. Those are hold-down clamps of some sort. They don't seem to be for a booster though. The current booster hold-down clamp design looks roughly like this. Comparing the two designs side by side, you can instantly see the difference. Either this is a new design for the booster clamps, or they are for Starships. But why then hydraulic pistons that look much too large for some hold-down clamps? If you have an idea, please do tell me in the comments. As always, I am eager to hear your thoughts.
The message contains instructions for building some kind of machine.
A machine?
There are Nelson studs on the inside of the ring that almost reach out to the diameter of a Starship hull, so it's very likely that this is a permanent structure. It will be embedded into a concrete socket. Putting the Starship on top of the structure shows that it fits perfectly into the inner ring. Massive steel plates were recently added to the top. Looking at the structure from below reveals the massive design and the pin-like Nelson studs to be embedded into concrete. The hydraulic cylinders will be added like so. Purpose still unknown, and it's killing me. We can only say that they will not pivot outwards as they reach through the holes in the top deck. They will have a lot of force pushing straight up in this configuration. The structure won't likely be implemented into the orbital launch mount either though, as it has those Nelson studs on the bottom. So possible use case would be staging area or test stand for full Raptor complement static fires. There are too many weak spots on the construction though that could easily be damaged by the engine fire. It truly is a mystery structure right now. Even though it's really hard, we'll have to wait just a bit longer for SpaceX to reveal more clues. Next up, let's talk Boeing Starliner again after a long time of silence. They are getting ready for their Orbital Flight Test 2 mission, and we're talking the latest info before the launch. The Y family needs your support. Give the video a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends on Twitter or Facebook to show the YouTube algorithm that you appreciate the content. Looking for a more direct way of support? Become a Patreon or YouTube member by clicking the join button right under the video and get some awesome perks. Gain access to our Discord server where you can meet me and the rest of the community, or get a completely ad-free release of each and every episode provided just for channel members. Or do you know about the Y Warehouse? Shop for your next Starship shirt, hoodie or cap and look as awesome as you feel. Links can be found in the description. You rock! Boeing's Starliner is one of 2 participating constructions in NASA's Commercial Crew program, for those who do not know. Where SpaceX has regularly flown to the ISS since November 15th of 2020, Boeing is a little late. That's not for lack of trying though. On December 20th of 2019, so more than 1.5 years ago, Boeing tried. Boeing's Starliner capsule, strapped to the top of a ULA Atlas V rocket, lifted off from Kennedy Space Center at 6:33 a.m. in the morning and never reached the ISS. Multiple software and hardware problems led to the capsule never reaching the intended height and forced NASA and Boeing to abort the mission, resulting in a safe landing of the capsule in the New Mexico desert 2 days later. The joint review team ended their investigation 7 months later with 80 recommendations for NASA and Boeing to address. Boeing is determined to bring the mission to a success though. Engineers behind the scenes have been working tirelessly to improve the design and make Starliner ready for a second try. Orbital Flight Test 2. The Orbital Flight Test 2 Starliner capsule rolled out of the Boeing factory Saturday, July 17th at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. The spacecraft made the trip to the United Launch Alliance Vertical Integration Facility on Space Launch Complex 41. This is an essential step in preparation for the OFT-2 launch on July 30th. NASA never released the complete list of recommendations they made to Boeing for their next Starliner flight, and initially, after the review was done, this next flight was planned for late 2020. So it's been a while since a Starliner arrived at ULA's VIF. Arrived there, teams stacked Starliner on the Atlas V rocket that will carry it to orbit on its flight to the International Space Station. The flight readiness review has already been done, and NASA will, of course, live stream the entire launch and hopefully this time docking to the ISS. The spacecraft is an Atlas V N22 specially designed for this mission. N22 stands for no payload fairing, 2 solid rocket motors and a dual Centaur upper stage, which so far is only used for Starliner launches. It will carry more than 400 pounds of NASA cargo and crew supplies to the space station and return to Earth with more than 550 pounds of cargo, including reusable nitrogen-oxygen recharge system tanks that provide breathable air to station crew members. The launch of OST-2 is currently scheduled for July 30th at 2:53 p.m. EDT, which is 18:53 GMT. Fingers crossed for Boeing, ULA and NASA for this critical second try to get a Starliner capsule docked with the ISS. Now let's talk Brilliant. I have a golden rule for sponsors. I only accept those who I actually and personally like. Brilliant definitely is one of them. And you've heard me talk about Brilliant before and how it helps you learn STEM. Recently, Brilliant has upped the interactivity on their platform to a whole new level. Take this lesson of the Pythagorean theorem, for example. You might remember from school what the formula is, but in this lesson you're not just getting an explanation, you're getting a way to see it for yourself. You're moving around triangles and proving for yourself that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And there's much more where that came from. In case you didn't know already, Brilliant is a website and app built of the principle of active problem solving. You learn best while doing and solving things in real time. Jump right into solving problems and be coached bit by bit until, before you even realize it, you've learned a new subject in STEM as you've never seen it before. I personally use Brilliant for my own research for Y episodes all the time. Just pick a course you're interested in and get started. Feeling stuck or made a mistake? You can read the explanations to find out more and learn at your own pace. If you'd like to join me and a community of 8 million learners and educators today, click the link in the description below or visit brilliant.org/whataboutit. Today's supporter shoutout goes to Randy Hahn, Peter Leach, Bob Brink, Rick Lambert and many others. You rock so much. Without you and countless others, we wouldn't produce this content, so the entire team's gratitude is yours. Make sure to hop onto our supporter-exclusive Discord to join more than 1,000 spaceflight enthusiasts and to give me a chance to thank you in person. Today's team shoutout goes to Florian, aka Alex Jobs, Julia, and my editor Brian for laying a trap that made me laugh so hard. At the end of the last episode, there's a SpaceX song. I tend to mispronounce SpaceX sometimes when recording, and out comes a SpaceX. These people have been planning this for weeks, viciously laying a trap for the next time I would mess up during recording. I laughed so hard it made me cry. Thanks for making me cry, you rock. I've been able to no, for a whole while now, no. SpaceX made some considerable no, still not. Seems to have gone every... The 4 were... Oh, a total of 20... Okay, I can do this.